Do you feel like we are stuck in this digital age where everybody expects everybody to find out everything via Facebook? I was kind of frustrated recently, and I have to admit I was being quite petty. There was a local craft show. I've been invited to be a part of this craft show several times through the years, either as an author or having a craft booth, whatever it is. And sometimes I get an invitation, sometimes I don't. Somebody different was taking care of it this year, and I had been told about it, and I should have remembered, but I didn't reach out to anybody, okay? And I didn't get any invitation to be involved. There weren't a lot of booths there, like usual. Um, there weren't as many people participating, which was sad. We did end up going. Somebody called me and reminded us, or called us and reminded us that we needed, that it was going on. And so we went over, and there's a few booths that I look forward to seeing that I get something from every year, and a few local people that I like to chit chat with. But I was just a little kind of frustrated that I hadn't received an invitation. And whenever I spoke to the people who ran it this year, they were kind of like, well, it was in the newspaper and on Facebook. We don't get the local weekly wipe, which is what I call the newspaper. Nothing against the publishers and editors and you know of the local papers. I just don't get them. I check out the press releases myself. I get my news from the horse's mouth usually, and our little local papers tend to be school related. It's whatever the government school is doing. That's most of it. I do miss out on some of the local politics and stuff that are going on that is frustrating, that we just kind of count on people telling us from word of mouth. But that's neither here nor there. I don't get the local paper. I don't listen to the radio, and I don't know if they had it on the radio. And And Facebook, let's just be honest here. Facebook is going to show you whatever it wants to show you. It's not always going to show you what you actually want to see. So if you're trying to keep up with local stuff, you have to go and visit the local pages on a regular basis, or the local groups. If you want to keep up with your family, you have to go to their profile to see if they've posted new pictures and stuff. It's not necessarily just going to run through your feed. A majority of my feed right now is just advertisements for stuff that I don't even remember liking some of it. So, and I try to purposely like things that I like. That way I see stuff in my feed that I do like. So anyway, we've gotten in this digital age that we expect people to just by osmosis know what's going on in our lives. Well, I posted it on Facebook. Everybody ought to know what's happening, right? And that's just not always the case. It's just not. And just because somebody doesn't see it on Facebook doesn't mean that they don't care. It just means maybe they didn't see it, or maybe it didn't register, that it was you or something. So anyway, all of this to say, there is a better way. Facebook has its place. The social media. I'm also on Gab. I like that better, of course. I'm on Truth Social. I don't do a whole lot on there, but I'm on the different places. I'm on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. So LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all the things, right? So, but it's not the same. It's not the same. What did we used to do? Well, out here, we still had party lines not that many years ago. And And a lot of y'all don't even know what a party line is. Okay. If you know what a party line is, put it in the description. I want to know who you are. We had party lines, and when something would happen out here, often the news would beat you. If you said something silly in one of the local towns, by the time you made it to the next local town, everybody knew what you had said. So, word of mouth got around. We had party lines. You'd pick up the line, and if somebody else was talking on the line, you'd say, "Hey, Myrtle, I need to make a call to so and such, if you don't mind." And they'd say, "Oh, yeah, we're just about done with our conversation. Give me about 5 minutes." And then 5 minutes later, you'd go, and if you had dialed home, you could call. Another really great way to connect with people is, of course, letters. And we're coming on to that time of the year where cards are still a thing. And not as much, not as much. I used to give and receive about 100 or more cards every year in the holidays. And that's really dwindled a lot. But cards, handwritten letters, those kinds of things, that is a very personal way to connect with people. So if you stick around, I have a 31-day letter writing challenge that I'm going to give a coupon code for. So if this is something you're interested in, stick around. And later in the video, I will give that coupon code if that's something you're interested in. So let's rediscover the beauty of handwritten letters. Okay. We're going to talk about, creating a meaningful letter, sharing your heart and personal touches in letters, and watching how letters can help bring warmth to relationships. Okay. Things get cold around here really easy. And the last several years have really caused some division among friends and family. And some of that maybe was necessary and needed to happen, but some of it's very unfortunate and unnecessary. Also, one of the reasons that I think letters are so important is because our elected officials need to hear from us. It's part of the accountability process. And the best way to keep them accountable is to inundate them with letters. Yes, you can send them an email. Yes, you can call them on the phone, but handwritten letters are special. So, letters are timeless, cherished keepsakes. My mother-in-law is no longer with us, and I like to scrapbook. I haven't done it for a while, but I took pictures that she had wrote on the back of, and I copied the back of the pictures so that we could have her handwriting explaining what was happening in the pictures and who it was in the pictures and stuff. Her handwriting, just in and of itself, was a memory of its own, right? We don't tend to think of that. But if you have letters from your grandmother, your great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, or something like that, letters from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, things like that, those are special. There's just something that is special about that. Old love letters. There have been books written and movies produced based on love letters. It's just a special thing. Your thoughts and feelings written in a letter or a card are a true gift. And we're in an economy right now that gifts are going to be hard, right? A handwritten letter or a card with a special note in it can mean just as much, if not more, than a special gift. There are 5 love languages. And if you don't know the 5 love languages, look it up. There are books. It was an amazing thing for me to learn. Words of affirmation is one of the love languages. That happens to be mine. So if you leave a nice comment in the comment section, it really boosts my morale, because that's a big thing for me. One of my children, that's the bottom of their love languages. And words of affirmation from me came off as criticism to that child. That's not how I meant it, but that's how they took it, because that's not their love language. Quality time. When you sit down and you write a letter intentionally, specifically, or fill out a card and write a little note in it, that's quality time that you have given to that person. So that's something that means something. And even that child who didn't care for words of affirmation loves cards and letters. So it's a quality time thing. Gifts. Some people really like gifts. Well, giving a card or a letter in a time that isn't necessarily expected is a special gift in and of itself. Putting down some special memories that you've had or something like that can be a gift of its own. Okay. Physical touch. A card or a letter is something you can physically touch. It's not as good as a hug, okay? Especially to a person whose love language is physical touch, but having something tangible instead of just a comment on Facebook or an email, having that physical card or letter for them to touch and hold and unfold and fold is a physical touch thing. So a handwritten letter can go through basically all of the love languages. And so it really is a gift in and of itself. You can personalize your letters, even if you aren't a person who likes to write. My husband's not a writer, right? And when I was at college before we got married, we wrote letters back and forth. Well, my letters were pages and pages long because that's what I do. I'm a writer. But his were big words, big letters, small words. I love you, things like that. He's not a writer, but he would find a touching card and he would have flowers sent to me, things like that. So there are things that you can do that even though you may not be a writer, you can pick out pretty stationery. You can pick out a fun card. If you're a card of yourself, pick out something silly, something funny. And then, throw in, depending on who you're sending it to, stickers, pressed flowers, had a couple of pieces of candy, or, something like that. Throw in some little things with it. And just to make it special, if it's a child sending a letter to a grandparent or something, if they're not writing yet, have them draw a picture. Have them draw a picture in there. That's fine. It doesn't have to be a lot for it to be meaningful. And if nothing else, send pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Send pictures. If they're fun pictures, if they're pictures of things that you're doing, there are ways that there are apps that you can, from your phone, get pictures printed from your phone. I think you can go into, Walgreens and places like that. And I think you can hook up and print out pictures from your phone. We have a little printer that has an app that we can actually print them out here at home. And so send a few pictures, even if you're making goofy, funny faces or something, to make somebody smile. So send a card, send a couple of pictures, sign your name, and make it special. Um, let's see. Keeping traditions alive. Okay. We have the history of letter writing, and Wikipedia actually has a page on Wikipedia, believe it or not. Historically, letters have existed from ancient Egypt, ancient India, and Sumer, and Rome, and Greece, and China. Letters were used to self-educate, to send information, news, and greetings. Some letters were a way to practice critical reading, self-expression, all kinds of things. Yeah, here's a letter. Oh, I should show this to you. Let me turn on the screen share. Screen share. Look at this. This is a letter from Darius the Great to somebody in Ionia. I'm terrible at this, guys, pronunciations. And his management of Paradise, the royal garden. Greek copy made during the Roman era, found in Magnesia. Isn't that just the coolest thing? That is a letter. I would say if you were trying to send that via postage, that might cost a bit to it may take a few stamps to send that, but isn't that neat? That is a letter. And that makes me think, God's word is a letter to us. And I know people like to say, well, Christianity is a new religion, blah, 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 blah. Well, I totally and completely believe that the book of Enoch and some of the Bible were written before the flood. Argue with me about it if you want to. Go for it in the comments. But my thought process is that information was brought on. No, we don't have original pre-flood, copies of it. It's been copied and copied and copied. But I don't think the original was written when people like to say it was later. I think a lot of Genesis, the book of Enoch, maybe the book of Job was written before the flood. Okay. So, what was it written on? Did they have paper? I think maybe they did. I mean, there are some huge books, right? Huge books that around the world, and some pictures of these really big books. Were they written after the flood? Maybe so. I mean, it's hard to imagine something like that living, making it through the flood, but those big sarcophagus, stone sarcophaguses in Egypt that obviously didn't have bodies in them. Were they full of books? Maybe they were. Could this stuff have been, I totally think that a lot of the hieroglyphs and things like that, those are letters to post-flood people from pre-flood people. A lot of the carvings and stuff that we find in those old things, you just thought it was going to be about letters, didn't you? I think a lot of those carvings that we see in antediluvian architecture and things were letters to pre-flood people, to future posterity, right? And even the Shmishmations believe that. They believe that the secrets that the Watchers brought down were etched in stone for them to have later. So yeah, there's a lot of, so historians and archaeologists and stuff are going to try to go through and date everything and say, well, writing didn't start until such and such time, and the world's millions of years old, but people didn't start doing anything smart until the last few thousand years, and then they wore nothing but robes and sandals until the last few hundred years, and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, some interesting information here. One of my favorite things, and this is free on Gutenberg ebooks 34123. That's neat. These are letters from John and Abigail Adams to one another during the Revolutionary War era, during that time period, before and after the war, and during what was going on. These are amazing. John and Abigail Adams homeschooled their children. Okay, so another point for homeschoolers. Yay! He would write back and forth, telling her, are you making sure that the children are learning this and that? And just some of the household things that they did and stuff. It's just amazing. Having these letters for us to read today really is an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener for me because I had been taught America was a Christian nation. And I'm not saying John and Abigail Adams were terrible people or anything like that, but they say in their own letters that they were Unitarians. Okay, so take that as you will. Okay, take that as you will. I always thought that the word providence meant God and in revolutionary type things. But it didn't necessarily. It might have to some people, but it didn't necessarily, right? So, yeah, that's that. So anyway, this is really neat. It is free. You can get it on EPUB, Kindle, whatnots, however you like to read things. You can read it online on your computer or on one of your devices. I definitely suggest checking it out. They're fascinating. It is a fascinating read to read these letters back and forth between them and talking about their family and their friends, people that we've heard about in, the story of the Revolutionary War. So this is awesome. I definitely suggest you check it out. So if any of this makes any sense to you, this is what I'm doing. I have this 31-day letter writing challenge. If you do this, you can have your holiday letters written before the holiday, whether you do, the pagan holiday, or if you do Hanukkah, or if you just want to send letters at the end of the year, the end of the Gregorian year to people. I usually do some Hanukkah letters. If I don't get that done, then I try to send them before Purim, but I tend to run a little late sometimes. So yeah, I like to send something around the winter holidays. That's when we're all stuck in the house, right? And you've got all this, pagan stuff going around for the winter holidays and things, and it's nice to have something like this. I go through and kind of analyze how the letters in the Bible were written and whatnot, and it is a 31-day thing. So I give you a daily, kind of tips, ideas, why it's important, how to do it, the whole kit and caboodle. I have had some people buy this for their homeschool students for English class. So it could very well be a supplementary English thing. So writing letters is it's just a good thing, a nice old-fashioned skill. So this is the promo code here, and I'm kind of making it fun. The first 66 people who sign up for this and do this will get 66% off, just because I'm feeling silly and and that's what I think. So it is 31 days of it. It's pretty in depth, okay? Because I have a hard time doing anything half-hearted. So if you're interested in something like that, I've got you. And I can help you get your holiday stuff done there. And I think this is a worthy thing to attempt for the holidays. And if nothing else, get yourself into a habit of doing it. I mean, I used to send out like a family newsletter type thing quarterly. I tried at least twice a year, but if I could do it quarterly, I really would. And that's where I started blogging and getting online. And then I realized less of the family cared than other people that I'm not related to. So that's how I got where I am today. People in the family who really appreciated the letters kind of passed on, and here I was. So, and I like to write. So yeah, I think this is a good thing. Um, kind of get you going to be more intentional in in what you're doing and reaching out to people and connecting with people. And that's I think a good old fashioned letter is just a good thing. So anyway, if you guys are interested in that, that's great. If it is not something that you're interested in, but you do like to write letters, I love receiving letters. So email me at Dawnita@prairie-trail.com, and maybe we can do a letter swap or something. That would be kind of nice. So I think that is all that I kind of had for you today. And yeah, Shelly and I had so much fun, and welcome all of you who came from Shelly's channel, from There's No Place Like Home. Hello, it's nice to see you. We had so much fun. We are planning another one. We're hoping to do another one. So, and we've got some ideas on a new 10 hat talks. So we're wanting to get another one of those scheduled too. With holidays and everything coming up, it is getting harder to get together and get things done. Shelly's still homeschooling several of her children. Emmy, our from the Manor Manor, all of her little ones are schooling or preschooling, type of thing. They're really busy with theirs. Debbie's is in his last few years, and ours is on her last year. So I'm a lot more flexible than they are for the most part, but it's still, just as soon as you get something planned, the cows get out. I mean, it happens. It happens. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope this inspired you this year to do more than just put a happy holidays thing on your Facebook page. I hope that you will, reach out to some people that are important to you that maybe you haven't talked to for a while. Maybe you haven't reached out to for a while. And if you don't have anybody like that, get a list of some people from the nursing home, or just make out some just very basic cards or something and send to the nursing home and tell them, hey, here's some holiday cards for some of the people who may not have any this year. There used to be a couple of letter writing things, like holiday letters for the soldiers. I definitely think that's a good idea. Send letters to the soldiers, find out some information on that. I may have some of that information in the course. I can't remember. But there are several situations like that you can encourage other people during a time that can be really hard. The holidays can be really tough for those who've lost loved ones and things like that. It can be a difficult time. So an encouraging letter or card is just something special, guys. It just really is. It's a lot more special than what we give it credit for. Let's step out of the digital age a little bit, and let's touch base with each other in a real way every once in a while. So anyway, remember, you can make it through the dust storms of life with God's divine help.